Welcome to our class today, and we're going to be focusing on mobility. So we're going to be working with the hips today. So you will need a belt or a strap or a towel will also do the job, and perhaps something for your head, just in case you need a little bit of support for your head. But other than that, you don't need anything else. So we'll make our way onto our back, and we're just going to warm up the hip, and then we're going to come into some nice yummy circles for the hip joint. So when you come onto your back, just pay attention to your posture first. I'm just going to make sure I'm not coming off the back end of the mat. So be aware of your neck and your shoulders. So sometimes, depending on your posture when you're in standing, you might be in a weird position like this. So just a little bit of support under the head might be of use to you. So just see how that feels in the neck. So starting here, just straighten your right leg and just hug the left leg in towards you. Now, if you've had a hip replacement, you don't want to take that knee past your hip joint. Unless your consultant has said something else, that's fine, but just as a health and safety tip, I don't know what you call it, a general caution, don't take that knee past the hip over there, especially if it's a new hip replacement. So everybody else, you can draw that leg in and just have a little rock from side to side with that knee. And for some people, you might not be able to hold the front of the leg. It depends on how long your arms are and if you've got bellies in the way. So you can also hold the back of the leg, or you can use a strap or a band as well. So we're just having a little wiggle in this left hip. Just take the knee out to the side and a little bit across the body. So again, if you've had a knee replacement, your left knee, you don't want to be pulling it all the way over the back. Just take it to where the leg is in line with your, say, your pubic bone, something like that. So we're just going to warm up that hip. And then just start to do a little circle with your left knee. And let the lower half of your leg completely relax. So it's not going to be in that position. Just let it completely relax and doing little circles. So again, I've got really long arms, so I can manage a decent sized circle. But if your arms are a little bit shorter, then again, hold behind the leg or use a belt or a strap or something. But really want you to try and relax your thigh so that the muscles in the hip are not active. So just getting your hands to do the work. And just keep changing directions. You might also feel like a nice little massage in the back. These are quite yummy. So just saying hello to the hip joint. And I like to think of the femur bone, making little circles inside of that hip socket. Good. And then bring that left knee back in, just give it one more little hug. And I want you to hold it there and really focus on sending your right leg away from you. So remember, if you've had a hip replacement, you just keep that knee above the hip. We don't pull it in. It just puts that thigh bone in an awkward angle at the back without scaring you. It could dislocate. Like I said, it all depends on what type of hip replacement you've had. You get partials, you get full. So just go on what your consultant says. And then from here, slide your left leg down and then bring your right knee in towards your chest. Again, hip replacement on this side. Keep the knee directly above the hip. Don't take it any further. Otherwise, you can hug that knee in. And I want you to be mindful with how this feels, left side versus the right side. So for me personally, it feels like it gets stuck. Like I feel like there's a little bit of a pinching sensation in the hip. You'll be surprised that yoga and Pilates teachers haven't got perfect anatomies either. We also have our own issues, probably more so. So just holding it there for a moment, just allowing these tissues to give it the back, and then start to have that little circle again. So for me, this is a little bit more uncomfortable on this side. It doesn't flow as nicely, like it feels a little bit sticky inside of the hip. So I want you to just be very aware of how your left and your right feel compared to each other. And why that's important is there'll be something in your life that you're doing that's causing this imbalance in the body. Now, I know for me personally, when I go to sleep, my left leg is always straight and my right leg are bended. And I lie on the front of my body. So if you think over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, what impact that has on your anatomy, then you can see why it's important that we really try and think about the things that we do to our body. So I do try and sleep with straight legs, but I always find the one pops up again. Good, so just circling inside of those hips. Good. So from here, release your right leg down. Just have another little stretch. Oh, that always needs a rub over there. And then we're going to grab the band or your towel or your belt. It really doesn't matter. And pop your foot into it. So you want your foot, you want your band over the ball/arch of the foot, and just straighten it up towards the ceiling for a moment. Now, if it's first thing in the morning for you, just be mindful your muscles are going to be cold, so you don't want to be forcing it. If it's the end of the day, then by all means, you can take it in a little bit closer. So I'm not really focusing on a hamstring stretch in particular for this today. We're going to be focusing on circles. But you wouldn't want to have that leg bent in that position, so do try and have that knee a little bit straighter. So I've got the left leg in the band. You're going to take the leg towards the right side. Now, if you've had a hip replacement, that leg doesn't want to go past the hip, so you don't want to be dropping it all the way down there. Just take it a little bit away. Now take the leg down towards the other foot. Take it out to your left and bring it back up again. So these are the circles that we're going to do. Now, if you have not had a hip replacement, then by all means, you can take that leg a little further across. Now, things to watch for is that the leg doesn't start bending at any point. So remember, we're doing a circle inside of your hip. And the other thing you want to watch for is when the ankle sickles. Now, that means, if I can show you, it's when the ankle folds over. So especially when you go across the body, have a look and make sure your toes are in line with your knees. So the ankle hasn't gone sloppy or floppy. Sloppy or floppy? And then we'll just do those circles. So just carry on with that. And I like to use the hands, get the hands to do some of the work for you. Now, ideally, you want to try and keep your hips still so that it isolates this movement within the hip a bit more. And then change direction. Like I said, use your arms, let them help you. The more you can actually switch off the muscles in the hip, the more you're going to get that mobility. So when that muscles are active, it is going to stabilize the hip a bit more. So we just want to, I like to think of just like loosening the hip. So some people's circles will be very small. It really depends on the flexibility of all the muscles surrounding the hip. And now bring your leg back up to the top, bend your leg, bring your right foot in, and then send that left leg away. So you might notice that my right leg is my tighter leg. So again, your legs are not going to do the same on both sides, so honor the difference, don't force it. So I might have to have the leg just a little bit further away. So we're going to take the leg across the body. So if you've had your hip replaced on your right side, your foot doesn't go past that left hip. So we don't want to pull it all the way across. Now take your foot down towards your left foot, pull it out to the side, and back up towards the ceiling again. Trying to keep the pelvis still. So also notice your left leg is the left leg flapping about. So what you can do just to try and stabilize that left leg a bit more is to actually push your left heel into the floor. That will just stop it wriggling. But again, I just want you to enjoy this. Don't overthink it. Just make sure you're breathing. Like I said, you can use your arms. And then change direction. And you might get a clunk. There's something called snapping hip syndrome or clicking hip syndrome. You're not doing any harm. It's just where a tendon flicks over a little bit of a bone. That's for another lesson. And then from here, bring your knee back in towards you. Take your band off. And then just give your knees a little hug. And again, I like to do these little circles. It's a nice massage in the lower back area. Change direction. Marvelous. So we're going to come into seated position. So just rolling onto your side. Pop yourself back up. And into seated. And there we go. So a nice little hip mobility class to get you started, just to warm up the hips. But again, pay attention to the differences you feel in the sides of your body. And if you have got one side that's particularly different, just start to observe what you're doing in the outside world that may be causing that difference, because that difference over time will have a big impact in your body. So this is what we're trying to do with Pilates, is to try and balance the body out. And that's all for today. So I'll see you again soon. Take care.